What is up, guys? We're back again. This time Maxpeedingrods sent us another product, and this time it's not a turbo, it's some rods for the CA18. And I've been running these in my own car for close to 2 years. They've been in 2 engines, and I was going to give you guys an overview comparison compared to a standard rod. We're going to weigh all of them, we're going to check what they're like out of the box and see what's what. So if you want to have a look at here, I've already cut the box open. So we got a little instruction card, little sticker and stuff. Got our torque specs, which is good for our bolts. And then rods are packaged as normal. I've already opened this one, so this one's a bit messy. So we'll open this one. We're gonna open all of them and have a look. So that's what you get. Don't mind the dirtiness, but they have already been opened. So they do come with ARP 2000 bolts, which are custom made by Maxpeedingrods. And they're just a standard H-beam rod. So if we compare this to a standard rod, for example, you can see how they managed to shave their weight, even though they make them slightly wider in the center section. So yeah, what we're gonna do. All right, so we're unboxing them now. We've got a second rod now. This is packaged as factory, so nicely wrapped, you know, in an oil-coated piece of paper. And we're gonna get all of these out here, show you exactly what you get in the box. They are stapled shut, so you can tell if they've been opened, if the staples have been broken. We've got another rod here. These are Maxpeedingrods. That makes 3. And we got our last one. Number 4. In here. I bought my rods close to 2 years ago. These were priced pretty competitively, so I got a set of these for my CA18. I believe I paid £180, £170 for the full set, and that for a set of forged rods, I mean that's really a bargain. Now you can probably get these for around £3 to £60, so they've gone up quite a bit, but they're still cheaper than most of the competitors. So what we're going to do now is we're going to throw them on the scale and see how much they weigh. So we're going to turn our scale on. We're going to zero it out. So we're at 0. We're going to take our factory rod, put it on the scale, and we have 669 grams for a stock rod. So what we're going to do here is we're going to write it down. Stock 669. Okay. So we got a stock rod at 669 grams. Got our number 1 rod here. We're going to chuck that on the scale. And that's 543 grams, which is 1/6 of an improvement for weight scale. That's pretty good. So we've got 543 for the first one. I'll chuck the second one on. 542, which is already a 1 gram imbalance, which is still acceptable. You can just match those to your pistons. Another one at 542 for number 3. And we're going to get our last one at number 4, which is 542 as well. So straight out the box, pretty well balanced. I mean, a gram imbalance, and that's just 1 rod, so that's not bad at all. And you're saving well over 400 gram in the rotating assembly, just replacing your standard rods. So another main reason I upgraded to these rods personally was the rod bolts. As any CA owner will tell you, standard rod bolts, they're kind of crap. So if you like to rev your engine like me, like to sit on the limiter all day, these are no good because, you know, they'll just stretch and shoot at the side of the block. So my first upgrade was actually a stock engine with just rods, and I beat the living hell out of that car till I killed the piston. So the rods did their job. I reused the rods, which are now my second engine, still going strong. So really, I can't complain. These rods are pretty good. From a comparison standpoint to another manufacturer, I don't have a set of rods here with me to compare them to, but from all the stuff I've seen, even in person, Eagle rods, for example, or there's another company starting with an M, I don't really remember the name, but they all look completely identical, to be honest. They're probably made in the same factory, but I think it's the quality control you pay for. Obviously, Maxpeedingrods being quality control in China, made in China, it's obviously going to be a little cheaper. I assume they skip out somewhere in the process to save some money. But like I said, these rods are pretty good. I've ran them in my own engine, and the thing with me is I'm not a sellout. I'm never going to tell you guys this stuff is good just because they sent it to me. I'm not going to do that. I will tell you the truth. So considering I've ran these for 2 years, I'd say I have pretty good experience with these rods. I do a lot of miles, use my car on the road most of the time. Occasional track there, here and there, and I beat the hell out of my car. Any one of my friends will confirm that I beat the hell out of my car. So, I mean, these are not bad. Another thing I wanted to mention with my connecting rods that I put into my engine, you have your little end bush, which is a little brass bushing. You see, nicely honed, so they've done a good job. My issue with these was the wrist pins were really, really tight in here, which means there's a lot of excess material here, obviously, which is not really what you want. But the good thing is, if you have excess material here, it means that you can actually machine them down or re-hone them to the size that you want them at. So you'd rather have more material than less, personally. You know, that's just the best way to do it. So you can spec it yourself rather than having a rod with a really loose wrist pin. You know, it could lead to other issues. Same down here, nicely honed. The set I have in my car marked out perfectly. They were perfectly round, bearing clearance was spot on, so I don't really have any complaints. But comparing a stock rod to one of these forged rods is you actually have an oiling hole for the wrist pin, which goes all the way up here, and you have an oiling port that covers the wrist pin. These don't actually have any oil flow to the wrist pin, so these work off splash only, which I'm not too sure how big of a performance difference that will make. You're going to lose a little bit of lubrication at the wrist pin, but obviously these are for really a performance engine. It's not really a street-driven car that's just, you know, drives around town every day. You're going to drive this car pretty hard, so I'm sure there's a reason for this. Other than that, I don't have any complaints with these rods. I mean, they weigh out pretty good. They look to be pretty good quality. I mean, standard H-beam design. Nice honing on the wrist pin with excess material so you can machine them to your size. Good rod bolts for a pretty good price. So really, if it were me and I had to go buy some rods for another car, I'll probably buy these because, let's be honest, they're pretty cheap and they work. And I mean, there's not really much you can mess with a connecting rod. As long as you check all your clearances and stuff, that's really all that matters. And from my experience, they work just fine, so I can only say I can recommend these. Being cheap doesn't always mean that they're crap. I mean, the turbos, as you've seen in my last video, not the best quality, but they work. And with these, more so, these work well, and they're actually pretty good quality from what I know. And yeah, that's my little review video on these Maxpeedingrods. Let me know what you think.